$7 billion Activision Blizzard deal. Today, it's the turn of Ubitus, a cloud streaming company which offers a catalog of games in some countries and whose servers power a number of cloud games for Nintendo Switch elsewhere.
Oh, this might be working. Hey, it's working.
Xbox
I didn't
boss
actually do
Phil
anything.
Spencer announced today that Microsoft had reached a 10-year deal with Ubitus to, quote, a 10-year partnership to, unquote, stream Xbox. What? Somebody, this copy is not well written.
They're starting to use AI now. I think they're actually doing like AI news. We're the last. Hello out there on YouTube. Welcome to the last humans to
Can't be
to
artificial
aggregate video game
intelligence.
news.
Yeah, right. Last losers hanging on
Yeah.
for no reason.
Let's see. Game Bytes show. Is this gonna work? It looked like it was working a minute ago. Oh, it says it's live. It says it's live. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes, it's working. All right. Now I just got a tweet about this thing.
So apparently the Pokemon TV show is ending after 20 years.
Oh yeah,
it
it totally ended a while ago.
30 years. Like I'm just hearing about it now.
Oh.
Not that I ever saw.
How do you
any
feel? Are you all right?
It's like, man. It's like when you hear something about like somebody who's younger than you that died.
Oh yeah, I think about that a lot.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that guy was only 34 and he's dead now. That's how I feel about the Pokemon anime ending.
Like Ash Ketchum gone too soon. That colon cancer could have been caught. If only he'd been, instead of traipsing around the countryside with animals, fantastical animals.
Sometimes I wonder, it's like, should I go to my doctor and just ask for, like soup to nuts? Just look at everything.
I need to do that. Have I complained on here about
I don't think so.
Yeah, just before, because we've got the pre-show bants and you want to hear like the real story. I like for a while, for a few years, I've been kind of like burpy a little bit. And I thought I was just gulping a lot of air, but in the last like 4 to 5 months,
Yeah.
I have
Did it go
apparently
away?
no
It got
no
worse.
no it got worse. I've crossed the threshold into the wild world of indigestion.
Oh, antacids.
Yeah, like all of a sudden,
Tums.
like I'm finally, people all around me, I've always laughed at everybody, like, ha ha ha, peanut allergy. Oh,
don't
you have
need
some milk
Tums.
intolerance. What, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And now I'm like a frozen pizza, and I am just like, I'm like, what's going on? Like, what is happening? Like something it just ain't right.
I haven't been to see my doctor since like, I don't know, 2018.
Yeah, dude, you know what? Doctors are mostly not useful. Sorry, doctors. All you doctors,
Yeah.
all the medical people, the medical community watching the Game Bite Show podcast.
I mean, I was bad about not going regularly even before COVID, and then it was like, nobody go to doctors. You gotta let the people who are sick go to the doctors. It's like, all right, well, I guess I'll just never go to the doctor.
Right at the beginning of COVID, I got like real ill, and I don't usually get sick, and so I was like, uh-oh. And so I just decided I was going to show up, but they had a sign out. I think I talked about this at one point. Like they had a sign like, if you're sick, don't come in. And
Do not come.
Yeah. I'm like, well, isn't that?
Yeah. Who's going to go to the doctor?
Yeah. What am I? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colonoscopies only. All right.
Yeah, which, I mean, you mentioned that a while ago, and now I'm thinking like, wait, what age are you supposed to start that? Like 45? It's like I'm almost.
I think they've moved it back. It used to be 40, but I think I'm off the hook.
Oh, see, I thought it used to be 50, and they moved it up.
I thought it was. I'm pretty sure it was 40 because I was like looking not forward to it for
a
while.
Well, I've heard from so many people that have gone through it. I know the whole drill. It's like you got to drink the barium drink, and you're sitting on the toilet for like 4 days, and then you go and you get like general anesthetic, right?
I don't know.
I think so in most cases.
I mean, hopefully they give you at least a little local.
Or at least buy you a drink.
Yeah. Just give me one on the rocks. All right. Okay, I think we are ready to go here. All right. Let's go ahead. I started my recording here.
I'll start mine. Recording. Da, 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 da.
All right. Let's go to. Hey, real quick before we get started, have you ever watched the Netflix show Agoretsuko?
Yes, but not much of it.
Really?
Like 1 or 2 episodes.
It's real good. I watched it with my daughter, and it's sort of like our thing. We watch Aggretsuko, and only
I,
only
I,
the only
she's an actual like Sanrio character.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
like a bunch of characters in there. Like
Regrets.
it's all canon. Like they've
Yeah.
got a very good what do you call it? A continuity management or something like that. They don't
Mhm.
yeah, they don't just like let people create things without it being part of the Sanrio cinematic universe, the Hello Kitty verse.
Yeah.
That's a
I
good
mean,
show.
I can appreciate that. Like
Yeah.
a solid contiguous canonicity of a continuity.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's believable, Like
yeah,
she's got some anger
makes
issues, and
sense.
yeah, you should go back and watch it again. You should try it out. You should see if I bet your it's
Uh,
probably not your daughters, but maybe your wife.
yeah, I don't know. We don't really ever watch a lot of like she. So my wife, she watches a lot of like Korean dramas
Oh
and
man,
Japanese like variety shows.
huh?
So like, I mean, that's like the big thing in Japan is like the 11 people on a panel on like a colorful, gaudy stage with,
Oh yeah.
they're like offering commentary on whatever sort of stuff.
Somebody told me that Takeshi's Castle came back. I was wondering if somebody would do like one of those geographic archaeology things. Like this was the Takeshi's Castle set for 3 years at one point, but now it's like I don't know. Now it's a dry quarry where they film Sentai fight scenes and stuff like that. And someone said that Takeshi's Castle came back for a while, and I must have missed it. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever seen an episode
Really?
of that.
I prefer so mostly what different countries have done is syndicate it and remix it or something. Like in America,
Mm,
we had the Most Extreme Elimination Challenge (MXC), where they just kind of dubbed over
right.
everything and
Yeah.
it was pretty entertaining. I think it was probably
And but then there's been like a fully Americanized like American Ninja
yeah,
Challenge or
like
whatever the sort
Wipeout
of thing.
and Ultimate Beastmaster and stuff like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
I mean,
But
it's an interesting genre. Like
I
if
just I mean,
if
I'm
you do it
interested in the
right.
genre, but I'm specifically interested in Takeshi's Castle, like where they did the thing, because there's not a lot of I don't know. Doesn't
Oh,
seem like there's a lot of space where you'd like set up a whole
huh.
thing, and it would
Isn't it like a back lot somewhere around?
probably it's. I mean, that's what I want to know because
Was
I
it all
want to.
like indoor like stage areas or is it like
No, 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 no.
outdoor?
It's like all outdoor, like big mud pits and stuff. They build big
Huh.
towers out there and stuff like that. I'd like to find it on Google Maps. I bet it's somewhere on Google Maps. Somebody's probably got Takeshi's Castle. If you're watching this and you know where Takeshi's Castle is on Google Maps, please send it in the chat or link it in our Discord. I'd be very interested.
I'll tell you, Japan is like 90% mountainous forest. So I mean, it could be like anywhere.
Really, they have a lot of like rural
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
areas.
like because so much of the land is, unusable, right? So
Right,
like
mountainy, rocky.
it's literally like just foresty mountains and mountainy forests, you know.
So
And anything like sort of resembling flat has been developed,
yeah, already
So
built over. Huh.
yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's 7 or 8 minutes of gold there. Let's go ahead and clap it in, and we'll get us going here.
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
All right.
What you got there? Time?
352. Well,
3:52.
351 and 3/4.
Oh, I'll find it, I'm sure. Hello, everybody, and welcome to your Game Bytes Show podcast. I am your host for this evening, Jeremy Lamont, standing in for our regular host, LeGrand Jolly. Joined with me in the terrible twosome, one Dale Count Elder Jones. How are you doing there, Dale?
The deplorable duo,
The deplorable duo.
the creepy couple.
Now, I mean, we'll take it. We'll take it. But that
The fabulous friends.
there you go. That's it.
The good guys.
The Good Guys. I like it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Good Guys Game Byte Show podcast. As always, Jeremy Lawman Lamont here, and this time I get to be in the driver's seat for the first time in a while. Dale,
Yeah.
I should let you host the thing. Wouldn't that have been fun?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
hold on. Let me hack my camera so that
Oh no,
we get a good visual filter
like
going
a
here.
the
There we go.
ghost of Dale Jones joining me for the Game
Not
by
quite
Show
so
podcast.
washed out. Not quite so jaundice cam.
Get under one of those blue baby lights and
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know.
yeah. That's what I need is one of those like streamer ring
You
lights
got to break down all the
behind me
what
there.
is it, the bitumen or something, or what's the
Oh, yeah.
whatever it
I don't know.
is.
I don't know what you call it. I mean,
You know,
I've seen that word before.
I'm surprised we don't. Yeah, there's a whole lot of like new baby terminologies.
Hmm.
Lanugo, like the soft baby fuzz skin or something like that. I don't even meconium. You remember meconium?
Oh, yeah, the colostrum.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, yeah, all that.
Yeah,
There's just a lot of icky things that go on. We don't know
yeah,
anything
all
about
that
it. But
stuff.
I do like the idea of sitting under.
Vernix is another one.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And I don't remember what all that stuff was, but
Yeah,
I'm
that's the
happy.
stuff that like that they claim that like if they could bottle it and sell it, they'd be making trillions of dollars because it's
Wow.
like nature's
Perfect
moisturizing
superfood or whatever.
fountain of youth
Oh
sort of
wow.
stuff.
Man, I'm starting to
It's
get
like,
to
well,
the
it
age
just
I can
comes out of the womb. I mean, just you know, I
scrape
mean,
some out, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. But
Seems easy.
I do like the idea of sitting under like a healing blue light. Like I feel like that's the fuse. Just like wrap yourself like a baked potato in one of those futuristic foil
You're describing
bodysuits.
like a tanning bed, is what you're.
Yeah. Whatever,
And
it'll give
those
you
like
cancer
goggles with
eventually.
the very small pupil.
I know.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I do. Tanning is something I don't think I could do. I think I would just get like claustrophobic
I was
and
just thinking about
cancerous.
that yesterday because we were driving through Portland on our way home, and you kind of have to go through downtown through a stretch of it to get from one side to the other.
Hmm.
And as you're leaving the downtown area, coming out the west side, you go by this I don't know, it's just like a condo building or whatever. But the first floor is this tanning business, right?
Hmm.
And so like I pass by it every now and then, and I'm just like tanning. First of all, I was thinking like, what an odd thing, like to tan when you live in the Pacific Northwest, right? Like, who are you fooling?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's like you didn't just come from California or something, right?
No. No.
But then yeah, then just the idea of like, yeah, because I remember there were when I was in high school, there were like these girls, these like classmates of mine,
Hmm.
that would like go to yeah, they had like just opened a tanning salon in town, right? And it's like I don't know what.
Yeah, I feel like when you're playing like Fallout or something, you go to a certain region and or like Skyrim or Elder
Mhm.
Scrolls games, and it's like, well, here we are pasty. Like this is our
Yes,
cultural marker that you've entered this zone.
right.
You might as well live that reality.
Mhm.
So I hear you. It's kind of weird.
I've been wondering about that recently. Also, I mean, to take a completely different tangent is so in how in Final Fantasy 14 and 11 is the same way. Like your
Hmm.
character has a nationality.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like where you decided to, and it doesn't matter what race you are. It's just whatever city you decided
Right,
to
right,
live
right,
in.
right.
So yeah, I mean that's definitely a thing in 11, and it's played up like if you go to one city, there'll be like embassies for all the other cities and
Hmm.
stuff, and it's just kind of interesting because like each city has like a race that like most of the people in that city are that race. Like so,
Right,
in 11, the city of Sandoria or the kingdom of Sandoria, it's mostly the Elvan people, right?
right, right,
So
right.
like when you go in and you get like a quest in that town and it gives you like a cutscene and all the characters and stuff, and one of them's not an Elvan, one of them's like a Hume guy, and you're like, wow, that I wonder how that Hume guy got to be living in Sandoria. Like, what's his story?
I
You
like
know?
that they would have one thing that I find that's interesting to ask people when they're from other places is I like to know who do you make fun of where you are, you know? Like
Ah, yes,
like we tend to make fun of, I don't know, people from like Louisiana or something, for
Polacks,
example. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Is that the
exactly. I
thing?
don't know if you can say that on YouTube anymore, but yeah.
That might be a slur. I apologize if that's a slur.
We're getting canceled. But for example, in Spain, the people they make fun of are the Southerners, the Galicians, the Gallegos, and so I like
Mhm.
to find out like who's the butt of your jokes, and sometimes you'll end up where it's recursive, like oh yeah, we just make fun of each other, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that Final Fantasy would set up not only the dominant sort
Their
of
regional
cultural, yeah,
rivalry
exactly. But
sort
then
of stuff.
also the
Yeah.
people that they would make fun of, like, oh yeah, we make fun of the Humes, like they are stupid. Like how do you confuse a Hume? Sit him in a round room and tell him to go sit in the corner, or whatever.
Exactly.
How did the Hume drown? Put a scratch and sniff sticker at the bottom of the pool,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, so I can respect that. That's some good world building. Some good world building.
It is. Yeah, it makes you think about think of the setting as like a plausibly real place,
Yeah,
right?
like a place that's filled with hate and like
Yeah.
derision for other people, minorities. Absolutely.
Sure.
Well, Dale, and all of you viewers out there on youtube.com/GameBite Show, all of you listeners out there on the syndicated feed, we've got a great show for you this week, possibly one of our best ever. Now that we finally ditched Jared and Legrand,
Yeah.
we can get this done the way that
Like the space shuttle launch boosters
that's
falling
right. We
away.
left those guys behind
Yeah.
in low orbit, and we are on our way to probably the center of the wherever it is Dale's spaceship is flying right now in Elite Dangerous. We're on our way.
Yeah.
It's going to take us a
Yeah.
while to get there.
I couldn't tell you the name of the system I left it in. I mean, I
That's
could
all
look
right.
it up.
We
It's
don't
probably
care.
like
We're going there
it's
wherever
probably
it
some
is.
gibberish name -2CBV84.
Some initials or something.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about some video games that we played this week, and then, of course, we got some news and some new releases and speedrun news to get through to edify and entertain. And Dale, I think we're going to start with you this week. It looks like you've got a pretty interesting list of stuff. What have you been playing?
I'll take these sort of in reverse order on my list here of notes, just because I'll start with the quick update on the video game, the single video game I'm playing is, of course, more Final Fantasy 11.
Of course.
I can actually give a nice little review of one of the, in fact, probably the last major paid expansion that the game had. And it's
you
called...
got to tell me, is it too late for me to get started on this?
It's never too
okay.
late to get started.
Okay.
Although if you started now, like, I mean, who knows how much longer the game will last. So I couldn't promise you that you would be able to get through all, but if you knew what you were doing and under like the tutelage of a master, like I could probably guide you.
Really? You could Sherpa me? You could Sherpa me through Final Fantasy.
You put in the hours and the dedication, probably within like 3 to 5 months.
Wow.
You could go from 0 to having completed the expansion that I just completed.
Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. No, I probably won't. Well, what's going on? What's going on in this latest? And by the way, when is this latest expansion? First of all,
so this actually came out. I think it was in like 2013, which is, you got to figure, because the game came out in 2002, and then it came out in North America in like 2004.
10 years is, I think that's the length of time for it to be like on Retronauts or something like that. I don't think those guys have ever done Final Fantasy 11, but I think 10 years is the threshold for a game to be retro.
An ongoing, like a live game is retro.
Yeah,
that's like a weird paradox, right?
If the last expansion is more than 10 years old, I think it counts.
But isn't that crazy? Like, to think that so this expansion is almost 10 years old already. I mean, in and of itself, it's almost 10 years old, right. And the game was 10 years old when it came out. So like, that's just nuts, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so since this expansion came out, they've added more stuff and a couple more even like story quest expansions, but they've been free content. So it's like, this was the last one that somebody actually went and bought the X pack for, right? Anything subsequent from this has been just part of the subscription, right? Yeah. And thus, somewhat smaller scale, smaller in scope, I think. So this was probably the last big hurrah for, expansion packs for Final Fantasy 11, right? So it's called Seekers of Adoulin. And the big thing that it had added was a continent out to the west of the main sort of starter continents and stuff. So first they added like eastern continental stuff, and then they went to like the past, and then in the next expansion they went like west. There's like a western continent.
Did you say they went to the past?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So initially, when the game first came out, it was just like, 2 continents, and then in the first expansion they added like some outlying area, like a couple of smaller, like an Australia to the main continent, and on both sides of it or whatever. And then in the next expansion they added like just more zones within that sort of landmass. And then the one after that they added basically an Arabian themed continent, like off to the east, and they call it the Near East. And then the idea is that there's a Far East out there somewhere that's very like China or Japan sort of analog. They never actually went there.
Do they?
Um,
Let me ask you this: do the Japanese, do they refer to themselves as like in the East? Do they, like, is there a Far East?
I
Are
think
they
so.
it? Really? They just kind of
I,
go into
I
that.
I believe so. Yeah, it's kind of a weird notion to think like it's just arbitrary, where the
It is a little bit, yeah.
where the date line
The
is and the
Greenwich.
Greenwich
Yeah,
and all that
exactly.
stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, like they do sort of acknowledge that they are the land of the rising sun and
Yeah,
all
that's
that stuff.
cool. Like, why not?
Um, but yeah, so for this expansion, they added a Western landmass, which, as you might kind of guess, maybe, they went for a sort of a colonialism theme with it. So the idea, not that there's like natives there that have to be colonized and oppressed, but
Mm-hmm.
the idea that it's like virgin territory and it's like overgrown with like crazy jungle and like big, dinosaur-esque
Oh yeah,
creatures
you got
that
to
need to
go
be
bushwhacking in there.
tamed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And so the whole story is kind of based around that theme. And I actually thought it was really interesting pretty much all the way through because it gets into some sort of like politics of the main city that gets out there is called Adulan. And as of the time of the story, it's been established for probably about 200 years. And there's sort of two main factions. There's like the faction that are like, we need to go more out into the jungles and like tame and reclaim more of this land for our burgeoning society. And then there's the people that are like, no, our founder king all those years ago, on his deathbed, he said, no more shall we ever go into the jungle. And it's like a big mystery. Like, why did he say that?
Yeah,
And
that's
all this stuff is
dumb,
in,
King.
it's covered throughout the story as to like why he made that his dying wish. And like spoiler alert, like he's not really even dead. He just like he's kind of like forever standing guard over the kingdom, like on the other side of the door to Hades, basically. It's not the place is not Hades. The place is called Tartarus. The
Oh yeah,
main
sure.
antagonist of this expansion is Hades. It's not literally the god Hades. It's a guy who discovered some of the evil power and started calling himself Hades,
Oh,
basically.
like James Woods
Um,
decided he's gonna.
yeah,
Yeah.
so something like that. But anyway, I thought it was a pretty cool, interesting story all the way through. It does play up like the war, not warring, but the feuding orders of who controls the society, whatnot, and all this stuff. Anyway, I'm getting way too in the weeds for that
Yeah.
thing. But overall, I really enjoyed what it added to the game in terms of like battle systems and like
Mm-hmm.
raid content and like quests and all the other stuff, the gameplay stuff on top of the story and the new zones and everything. And so yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And then elsewhere in the game, I had finished leveling up my bard job to 99 and getting some cool gear for that and doing some things. And then I was like, it's been bugging me for a while. I've been like wanting to level up paladin, so because paladin is one of like the two jobs that can be a tank in
Oh
this
yeah.
game. um, it used to be that there were two jobs that could tank very well, and they were paladin and ninja. But since time has gone on, the level cap has changed. It's no longer ninja is no longer considered a tanking job. They're more of like I guess just like a damage dealer, debuffer sort of thing. The newer class that's kind of the second main tank is the rune fencer, which is an interesting class that's based on um, tanking through like damage mitigation more than anything.
Hmm.
So like they basically have these kind of like elemental ward spells where they can basically drastically reduce incoming damage, which helps to keep the mob locked on them since it can't relieve its hate by taking damage off of them, sort of
Okay.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's those systems work similarly in a lot of MMOs, right? Um, but anyway, yeah, I was like, I kind of want to just play the classic tank, the paladin, because I mean, sometimes you just want to have a sword and shield and just
I feel like that's a more appropriate tank. Like I was thinking, like ninja doesn't seem like a real tanky class to me. So I
well,
don't know who.
so the reason it worked, and this is a really interesting story because the ninja be a tank. They just happened to have a couple of spells that would put up shadows in front of them. It's like we call them shadows, but
Right.
like imagine like clones or like fake,
Yeah,
fake out
yeah, yeah.
doppelgangers or
Like
whatever.
ninja images.
Yeah, and so the enemies would their attacks would hit a shadow first and do no damage. And they had two levels of this. Utsusemi was the name of the spell, and they still have it. you had two copies of it. You had like a level 1 and a level 2, and the level 1 would give you 2 shadows, and the level 2 would give you 3 shadows, and the level 2 would overwrite the level 1. So you could cast your 2 shadows, wait long enough for the cooldown to be up for 2, and you could cast shadows over the existing shadows, and you could do it in a rotation basically to where like you could almost never get hit if you were doing it right, and if you were fighting the right type of monster, right? It's dependent on several things. And so it was a very much a player discovered sort of hacky kind of solution to the problem of the paladin was for a long time the tank. The other sort of tanks that you could kind of do would be like the warrior
So
or maybe the
this was
samurai.
not designed to be a tank, and they just
No, it was never designed to be a
figured it
tank.
out. Wow.
It was just kind of, it was able to be monkeyed into being a tank
That's bizarre.
that worked. It didn't work all the time, but it would work like 80% of the time. Again, depending on what mobs you were fighting, right?
Yeah.
Like there were some bosses where you just had to have a paladin tank, and that was the only way it was going to work. But with a lot of them, the capabilities of the ninja becoming a tank was unexpected, and it actually broke a lot of the earlier content, or in the sense that it made it too easy if you had a ninja tank. And not only being able to tank, but they were also pretty competent at doing damage also, so they could keep hate on them by doing a lot of damage and never getting hit. And parties loved it because like it was all about being very efficient. And
how about that?
When you go and fight monsters and get XP, right? So yeah, for a long time they were almost the most popular tank in the game, and it was all accidental.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah, it's very cool. It's one of those cool little things that you only know about it deep into a certain game. Right?
Yeah, I've never heard of anything like that before. Huh.
Yeah. Oh, and then come to find out, later on they add more content to the game, and it kind of breaks the viability of the ninja tank. But they added another one later, so
yeah.
It's swings and roundabouts, as they say. Anyway, I was playing that. Let me get off of Final Fantasy 11, because the main thing I want to mention is the reason I haven't been playing other games this last couple of weeks actually is I am preparing for a trip to Chicago for a convention called Adepticon, which is a tabletop wargaming convention, and I have to a couple of all-day events there, so I'm going to be there. It's really Thursday through Saturday, but there's a thing Wednesday night where there's going to be like a Games Workshop is going to be there, and they're going to have like a premiere sort of thing for like a couple hours. Wednesday night, like world premiere. Yeah, and I'll be in the audience there for that.
That's great. You should set up a Game Bytes booth. World famous podcaster Dale Jones there with his. Are you gonna like compete or anything like that, or is it just like an exhibition kind
I'm there for there's a game called Adeptus Titanicus, which is in the Warhammer world, the giant mech, they're like multi-crew giant mechs are called Titans. And so one of the games that they publish is Adeptus Titanicus, and it's like with the the plastic models are these like giant, they're about, it's like, imagine building like a Gunpla, like a Gundam plastic model. Right. It's way more complicated, and then you got to paint it yourself too. So yeah, it's Adeptus Titanicus. So I'm bringing 5 of these models of these Titans in what they call a maniple. And
do you have like a hard suitcase for it, or are you bringing like a?
It's a handgun.
Chain
case.
It to your wrist.
It's a pistol case.
Nice.
And yeah, with like the foam inside to like keep them protected. So
that's wonderful.
I carry it onto the plane because there's no way in hell.
Hey, we've got a just for those of you who are not already on our Discord server, we actually have a hashtag travel channel. And Dale, I am hereby requesting on behalf of the entire Game Bytes Show community, we need to see your travel log.
I'll document it, and because I don't have Twitter on my phone anymore, so I'll just document it and post it to the Discord.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, so yeah, and then Thursday, Thursday I'm playing in the Adeptus Titanicus, like the every like the one man for themselves, it's just regular tournament, right? And then Friday, my buddy who lives in Chicago, who I'm staying with while I'm there, he and I are going to team up and play like doubles tournament.
Love it.
So
this is the stuff of like a one of those buddy movie sort of semi tongue-in-cheek mockumentary kinds of things, like
Yeah,
my life at Adepticon, something like that.
yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm looking forward to it. And then Saturday, there's another like it's the same event, has 3 days, but I'm only playing in 2 days because I figure the last day of the show I just kind of want to hang out, do whatever,
Yeah.
get some Chicago food and just
Hey,
kill
there
some
you
time.
go. That's great.
Flying back here on late Saturday night. So
Nice. And I'm sorry, when is this about?
it's this week.
Oh wow.
So right
Okay.
now we're recording on Monday the 20th. So on the 22nd is when I fly out there, and then I'm coming back on the
Well,
24th,
dig that.
5th,
That's super
20,
fun. That's awesome.
whatever.
Well, bon voyage there. That's a great little opportunity, and I hope you wreck house with your uh, war
Yeah, with
mechs.
my so I'm playing. It's Legio Ignata, aka the Fire Wasps, and they are one of the three legios that made up the Triad Ferrum Morgulus, which were the Titan legios that were based on Mars at the time of the Martian Schism during the Horus Heresy.
Of
And so
course.
they're the one of the three that remained loyal to the Emperor, and the other two turned to the traitor War Master Horus Lupercal.
Oh yeah.
So
Hate that guy.
yeah, he's bad news.
No good. Well, all right. Cool, cool, cool. Well, over here on my side, I have been playing a couple of games that I sort of, even before I knew it was just going to be me and you on the show, I was just going to bring a couple things and talk very briefly about two of them. Both of these were on or are on kind of free or free-ish periods. It's kind of been a week for free things. Again, if you
Mhm.
are not on our Discord server, we try and keep track of like what's free and when. For little free weekends and whatever. One of the things that I played was on Amazon Luna. I have not been using the streaming service over there at Amazon too much. Uh,
Okay.
they they don't really make it easy the way that GeForce Now kind of lets you tap into your Steam library. So it's just like you've got to be kind of in the same way Stadia did. I got to move this cat. Hold on. Maybe it's fun just to leave his ears there. That's cute. Um, they make you buy games on their service in order to access them, and I don't think they charge. Maybe they do charge you for it. It's like not ideal. I really am a big fan of GeForce Now. However, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, they have a rotating set of like four games that you can just kind of play on any given month.
Right.
And
Yes.
and they're usually not like fancy new things, but they're just stuff that if you want to try it out. I played Smurfs Village one month. I didn't bring it to the show, but
Huh.
yeah, Smurfs. But one of the things they've got on there this month, which is something I probably wouldn't otherwise play, Mega Man 11. For me, the last time I thought of like a new Mega Man was like Mega Man 9, which was probably back in like
Yeah.
2008 or something like that.
That's
I
been
mean,
a while ago.
it
Yeah.
has been a while. So I was like, all right, well, let me check in on Mega Man. And also in this era of Mighty Number 9, they've started to make the games are 3D but kind of 2D. They're made out. Yeah,
2.5D.
exactly. Like and I've heard with games like Mighty Number 9, which I played a little bit, but it's just you don't get the responsiveness that you do with like a sprite
Yeah,
based
with pixel art.
game.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really heard anything bad about Mega Man, so I'm like, all right, let me try a Mega Man game. It's been a while since I've had the opportunity to do this. So
And this is an old school like NES looking.
it kind of. So it
Yeah.
is. I mean, it is made of polygons, kind of question mark. I mean, it's not
Hmm.
sprites. So it looks
Okay.
like Mighty Number
'Cause
9, I
nine and
guess.
10 were still like sprite based, right?
9 definitely was. 10 I think was. Yeah, so I was kind of like, well, let's just try this out. Like, let's see if Mega Man in the era follow. I don't even know if people know what Mighty Number 9 is anymore. I mean, it's been a
Oh
while.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, you're right. That's
but
old.
anyway, so that's kind of what I wanted. And then I decided, well, I'm going to play this in an unideal situation by playing it on a streaming service. And the outcome was more or less like you'd expect. Actually, the responsiveness wasn't bad, but this game
Okay.
frustrated me to no particular end, which I didn't like. It has a lot of story, and it does have a couple of gimmicks. So the thing that I guess Mega Man games have kind of been doing is making some special sauce, I guess, for a particular game. And in Mega Man 11, the special sauce is something called the double gear system. So Dr. Wily corrupts Dr. Light's robots again, and you actually get to see him do it. Like the robots start out as friends, and they,
Mhm.
and the thing with the robot masters, it's like they're
Oh
construction
yeah,
robots or helpful robots or like
absolutely.
whatever. So they're friends, and he's tuning them up, and then Dr. Wily comes in, and he's like, I'm going to corrupt all of you. And so he does, and then they become bad guys. And he is using this double gear system, which was one of Wily's very first like student projects or something like that. And basically what it allows you to do is at any time during the game, you can engage this thing, and it will either give you slow down, so you can be more agile or whatever and move around things in slow motion, or there's a power gear where every time you shoot, it shoots like 3, or if you hold Mega Man's Buster, or what's it called, the Buster gun or
The
whatever,
Mega Buster.
Mega Buster, yeah, it'll like double fire that, but it lasts for a certain amount of time and then it cools down, and so you have to wait a long time to use it again. And then, and I guess I'll just start with that. So that's all right. Like that's kind of fun, I guess. It didn't really blow me away or anything, but it's kind of neat to have something different. I mean, in Mega Man 3, they introduced Rush the dog, so that was
Right.
and so
And
I
the
guess
slide.
yeah, exactly, the slide you can do, and so those things are still in here. So you actually get a free Rush the dog anytime he does the boinger, the springboard thing that he
springboard
does,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is fine again. But I tell you what, this game is designed to piss you off, and it really,
True form.
yeah, well, exactly. And so I'm like, what did I expect? But the thing is that this is set. I mean, there are Mega Man games where it's like you kind of got to be careful, or if you get cocky or whatever, you'll because Mega Man, when he gets hit, he does that like recoil and you fall down
Yeah.
pits and stuff. They do that constantly throughout this game. They set this game up so that you will fail the first time multiple times through a stage. And I know people would say, well, that's Mega Man. I'm not so sure that that's Mega Man, but they really leaned into it with this. And it just, so what I ended up doing is like, if I got a game over in stage, I would just move on. Like, I'm like, well, this clearly is not the Metal
I'll try a
Man,
different one.
yeah, exactly. And so I would just kind of go through them. And the levels actually are, I guess thematically, like really actually kind of cute. The Robot Masters, the stages, the theme stages are things like Torchman, who is actually he's kind of like a tiki torch, and he apparently runs summer camps because he's got like a outdoorsy camp theme thing where there's like tents and stuff, and I don't know, totem poles and things like that. That's kind of fun. There's a Blockman who has kind of a concrete building Egyptian hieroglyphics, pyramid kind of stage. There's an Acid Man, which is really cool, and he has water that different little enemies will shoot acidic like spitballs at you, and if they happen to hit the water, they make the water slowly more acidic, so it starts out you can go in it, and there's maybe little guys in there that you can farm for dudes, but then it'll become too acidic and it'll kill everything in it, and it'll become hazardous to you, which again I thought was kind of cool. And there's other dudes. There's like a spark guy and a blast man kind of thing, like explosive dudes, and they have a whole stuff will explode, and barrels will make areas inaccessible if you accidentally detonated them instead of jumping on top of them or whatever. So the levels themselves, again, thematically are not bad. But just the fact that every time I wanted to make progress, I would have to figure out how to fail the first time. And as I went through more and more levels, I just realized they're definitely doing this on purpose. And it just made me upset. So I don't know if I'm going to go back to it. And again, maybe you have an opinion about this. I don't think that is the standard MO for Mega Man. Like, I do not remember it being a thing where you must fail your way through a level in order to understand it.
I think it's probably changed a lot over the years. I remember, my earliest days as a gamer, Mega Man 2 and 3 and 4 were very, and then later X, and then to some extent like 5 and 6. Those were, pretty important games to me, early on, right?
Sure.
Like I played a lot of those games, and I did a lot of like drawing and inventing my own, Robot Masters and all that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah.
It was great, great fun. Graph paper, making up levels and stuff.
Absolutely.
Gosh, that was fun times. I was like totally invested in like what's the deal with Proto Man? Like,
yeah, there's like some drama. Like he's his brother.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah. All that stuff. And then, Mega Man X. When that game came out, it was very cool, but it was different. It was like it felt a little bit different. It was maybe harder, maybe it's sometimes not. And it had more features because it was from a 16-bit
Yeah, yeah.
era, right? And after that, I kind of fell off until much later. And like I was playing by that time. I was playing like on the DS, and I picked up. It was like one of the Mega Man Zero games. I'm not even sure. And I was trying to play it, and I was just like having no luck whatsoever. It was just too hard, and I was like what? There's something weird about this game, and I kind of came to the conclusion that the proportion of the screen that your character took up
Mm-hmm.
was much bigger
Yeah.
versus the
Well, they
earlier
wanted you to be
games.
articulated, right? Like Mega Man X, like suddenly you had elbows and stuff, and so your dude was
Yeah,
like, "Ah," so he had to be bigger in order to
you had the
accommodate
like
the.
dash, like weird dash, like roller blades, like your feet were blades or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, like you had all these moves, but just the fact that your character in that game was proportionally on the screen so much more of the screen, that what that does is it cuts down your maneuverability because you don't have as much space to maneuver around in,
right.
right? Because
And you
you
can't see
take up
stuff
so much
coming at
more.
you until it's like right there.
Everything it's like that everything is zoomed in,
Yeah.
like 30% or whatever it was. And so regrettably that game just didn't click with me. And then because by that time I was like playing like literally I think I was playing Etrian Odyssey like at the same time, and I was like, this game's better. Which I mean that game was really cool, at least the first one. But yeah, so and I haven't played a Mega Man game. I what did I play? 20XX. I played that. I
Uh-huh.
played what was that other one that was like
I mean,
there was
20XX and
another.
Mighty Number Nine are the only two that I can think of that were
Yeah,
really
I was thinking there was another one, but I could be just confusing.
20XX was really good though. That
It
was a
might
good
have
one.
been just 20XX that I'm thinking of. But yeah, I played a decent amount of that,
Yeah, yeah.
and I never did actually play Mega Man 9 or 10 or 11 or
I played them a little bit.
any of the latter day Mega
Yeah,
Mans.
I think some of those actually were a little more true to the. Like I said, the thing to me that just feels really different is it feels like instead of. Because I always had a sense of struggle with Mega Man games, like, oh, this screen is weird, or they've placed this guy in just kind of a weird spot, and I got to figure out how to shoot him before
Yeah,
he goes, ducks into cover or whatever. With this, though, it's like I am dying every step of the way, and it's like you have to memorize the level in order to not do the thing that's going to kill you instantly. It's not going to knock
yeah.
you back.
I
It's
mean, it
not going
could.
to do whatever.
Maybe that's just how it's designed. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's obviously it's not the same people making this game that made them 30 years ago, right?
Right,
It's
right.
like different sensibilities, different people, probably different mandates from
Yeah,
the people
Fishman
on
and
high.
Yuki Chan's Papa
Yeah,
no longer doing
exactly.
that. There is one thing though. I will say, first of all, I did not defeat a single robot master, so I can't tell you if any of the weapons are fun because I got to a boss and
And
then
it was the wrong one.
yeah, exactly, or
Yeah,
whatever. It was like there was no chance, and
yeah,
the double gear system did not pull me through. The other thing is that the fact that I was dying a lot, there actually is one other mechanic in this that's really kind of potentially kind of neat, but didn't really work for me, which is that one of the things you pick up. So traditionally in Mega Man, you'll pick up either little health blinkies or
Mhm.
the power
Or an E
energy things,
tank.
yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
In this, though, you can pick up little bolts, and the bolts are a sort of roguelike currency, so that even if you die, there's a little store at the main menu, and you can buy things like extra energy
Okay,
tanks or things like that.
that's
And
good.
so, I'm like, yeah, that's actually kind of cool. I just wish. And the fact that I was dying but still got some things sometimes was kind of nice, but it just it didn't compensate for that frustration level for me. So I don't think I'm really going to go back to it. I can appreciate some of what they've done artistically, conceptually. It is kind of neat, but just the way the difficulty is kind of designed to. I just don't know how you're supposed to play the game except to go in there, get stomped repeatedly until you just know the level. And I just don't feel
Yeah,
like Mega Man as a franchise historically should require that. I guess that's just my position on that.
I remember thinking of them as kind of hard games, but then at the same time, I was like getting through and beating each one of them, so they couldn't have been that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be me. Again, I'm a 42-year-old man now, so it is a little bit
yeah,
different. But I do have some experience playing video games, and I feel like just the way
Oh
it's
yeah.
designed is a little more.
35 years later.
Yeah, something like that. Like I've been around the
Mm.
block a couple times.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. But I will say the other game that I played, which I played because it was on a free weekend, but it's also on PS Plus, and I want to say it's on Game Pass also. Battlefield 2042. Which I am not typically a first-person shooter kind of guy. I did play
Battlefield.
this on my Battlefield. The last time I played a Battlefield seriously was probably like the Battlefield 1943 remake
Oh
of
wow.
Battlefield 1942.
Yeah, the cartoony one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I enjoy those, and the whole vehicle or class based kind of idea. They still do that. Battlefield 2042 is just like modern, so. I didn't really decide that I was going to get good at it. What I decided I was going to do was whenever somebody spawned a vehicle, I was just going to spawn into that vehicle in a side gunner or something like that. And so I was just in there, just like,
That's
bup,
fun.
bup, 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 bup. Yeah, and I was just, not really doing much. I'd sometimes get a tank or something of my own and kind of fly around in it. But it basically is the same kind of general idea. It is class based. They do have characters that will set down turrets or characters that can ping bad guys and kind of show up on everybody's radars and things like that. They've got a whole bunch of or rather game types that I didn't really try out. And I did play this on one thing that I really like to do, and I've said this before, is I like when something is free or is on a free weekend. I like to see if it's on GeForce Now, and then just
Right.
go play it without having to. And I know LeGrand makes fun of me because he's like, "Well, just download it," but I'm like, "No, I don't want to." And especially with online stuff, like my computer will not run it better. Dale, you and I were talking about this. I'm running on like a 10 to 12-year-old rig right now. So especially for online stuff, when I'm connected to a server, that server is running a better connection to the game than I would be if I were
Sure.
running it locally, right? So for me,
Yeah.
that's the way to play it. I played it on my Logitech G Cloud. I showed this off a few weeks ago.
The
It's
Switch
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. It's my
Or
answer to
the
the
Steam
Steam
Deck
Deck.
thing.
No, yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Game of the year, Logitech G Cloud,
You happy with that
2023.
thing? Is it working for
That's
you?
pretty all right. I mean, it works again. I think I talked about it a little bit like a Roku type system where it
Mhm.
it links into other streaming systems. But this one was kind of weird because when you play something through Steam, and this one actually goes through Steam, but also through Origin or whatever they call it
Right.
now. And so there's like a 2 or 3 step, and you have to authenticate. You have to like log in each time. So what I did was. Because I was having trouble doing it with the Logitech thing, because it's like a switch. You don't have a keyboard. It's hard to use a
Yeah.
soft keyboard to log into stuff. So I would use my PC to do all the logging in, and then I would launch the same game from the G Cloud, and it would just switch me right over. So I was kind of like
So
gaming
interesting.
it just it just picked up as if you were just streaming it to a different device, and
Yeah.
had some fun with it, and not enough to really get back into Battlefield, but I can see how they have been faithful to that general game model, and it was a lot of fun, just like sitting in a sidecar and plugging dudes, and
Get some
that was.
XP for
Yeah,
very little
exactly.
work.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Getting some of
Yeah.
those assists, and showing my medal on the battlefield before my dude gets shot and rolls around in pain, and I force a respawn back at the 20
Hmm.
miles back at the main spawn point. So good times out there, and that is, as I mentioned, on PS Plus on a regular this month. I believe it's on the PS Plus catalog for March, and then it's also on Game Pass as well. So. Dale, those are the games that we played this week.
Cool. Well, new releases. This is one I hadn't heard this was even coming out. Bayonetta Origins, Syriza and the Lost Demon.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. It's like a little fairy tale style retelling of Bayonetta as a young witch, I guess, something like
Yeah,
that.
becoming which I mean that's in the first game.
Before
Like
they
it's
before they
about
whore her up, they doll her up and make her a
like
whatever.
that first game is like part of the story is kind of like her as a young girl, and like I don't know how whatever her backstory is, I forgot.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Before she becomes sexually liberated.
so that's coming out, and it's not like a small game. It's like a full price thing here.
It does kind of seem
So
like it would be an Xbox Live arcade kind of.
yeah, like a $20
Yeah.
2D sort of,
Yeah.
you know,
From what I
whatever.
understand, the mechanics are totally different too. It's not like a Devil May Cry combo type thing. She's got like some sort of magic special book that eats things
Oh,
or
interesting.
something. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I guess I sort of consider it important just because it's Bayonetta, right? Like people, it's a pretty high regarded series, I think,
Yeah,
mostly.
that's true.
Um, Another of those, Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom, Prince's Edition,
Wow.
apparently coming out
Purple
now.
Rain.
So,
This is what it's like with
yeah,
PUBG.
yeah. So yeah, you can play like it's 1999.
But it's $59.99. Nice.
Indeed.
Well, we have some leaked new Destiny guns allegedly.com
Now
from
I take
our
this very
inside sources.
seriously.
Oh, absolutely.
I always I'm going through the room of the leaked Destiny guns, and I'm like, does this actually sound like it could be a
Legit.
Destiny
Oh
gun?
yeah.
Sometimes they get through and they're like, I don't know, that doesn't really sound. I mean, maybe, but no, these ones,
Oh,
I think
agreed.
they definitely pass the smell test.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the first one we have here, not sure what class of gun this is, but it's called the Guys. And now
Yeah,
I gotta clarify because that is a homonym or homophone. It is not the Guys
yeah.
Guys.
It's like
It's like
like
a
as in disguise.
disguise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
guys.
Guys.
I don't know. For some reason I go to sniper when it's the guys,
I think
but
so.
I'm not sure
Maybe
why.
you know
Maybe
what?
just
Probably has a special ability, cloaks you if you stay in
yeah,
zoomed in mode
probably.
for long enough. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it. Flamekeeper, another one. I like that. So
Gamekeeper. Yeah.
solar,
I'm thinking it's short to mid range. So I mean, it could
like
be
assault
almost like
rifle.
either like a shotgun type thing or like a pulse rifle or
Yeah, yeah.
something. Yeah.
Finally, something that sounds particularly lethal: the Saint Maker.
Yeah. Hand cannon, I think.
Absolutely hand cannon.
I mean, what else are you going to call a saint maker, right?
That's got to be the one. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. All you who are playing the new Destiny expansion, you can keep an eye out for those hot drops. Over in the deals and freebies section, new stuff on Nintendo Switch Online that includes Kirby's Dream Land 2, Burger Time Deluxe, which I have to admit I'm not familiar with the deluxe version of Burger Time.
I thought it was like Kirby's Dream Land 2 Burger Time Deluxe.
It should be. That is a crossover
Yeah.
that I think would do quite well. And then we have one called Side Pocket, which is a pool game on
Oh
the
yeah,
SNES. And I
Side
don't know.
Pocket. I remember that.
I
I remember
actually
Side Pocket.
I didn't play it, but someone out there made an unofficial soundtrack on vinyl for the game. So apparently it's got a
Oh,
banging
you have that,
score. I
right?
do have that. Yeah, I haven't actually listened to it though, but
Huh.
yeah. So you can. Oh, and then
What
also
a game to make an unofficial vinyl soundtrack.
there's a lot of them like that. Actually, I got so a little bit of here's a Jeremy's vinyl records soundtrack corner for just a
Yeah.
minute. Someone also bootlegged a couple of 7-inch records, the little 45s.
Mhm.
They did one of Pictionary on the NES and
Okay.
Famicom, and I think that's actually a Wise. What's that dude's name? David Wise, who did like Silver Surfer and stuff like that. It's like a David Wise joint or something like that. And then and what was the other one? Or no, David. It was David Wise did some sword and sorcery type game, and then Pictionary. I don't know what it is. Anyway, people find like
Wizards and Warriors.
something like that. I'm gonna look it up right now, real quick. So David Wise, NES.
I thought you were going to say somebody made a 7-inch of the eShop theme song, and like the dun 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 dun
Actually,
dun dun
someone has
dun
done
dun 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 dun
uh,
dun dun.
someone has done the Wii, like kind of the Wii system music.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've done
it's good
all
stuff.
that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, David Wise out there making some bangers. And then PS Plus Extra has a bunch of stuff coming out for March, and I said March here, but I think it's April. Actually, maybe this is March. Maybe
When
I
did they
accidentally.
start calling it PS Plus Extra?
Well, so the thing is, there's the 3 tiers, right? So there's the premium,
I thought
which
there
is
was only 2 tiers.
there's three. There's three
Okay.
tiers. So there's PS Plus Essential, which is basically PS Plus as we've known it. The next step up is PS Plus Extra, which is everything from the first tier. Plus, you get their
Every
continuing game
extend,
catalog,
extra, essential.
Essential Edition.
Yeah.
So Extra gets you the PS Plus catalog, the monthly games, and then or you get the monthly games with as Essential, but then you get this extended catalog monthly for Extra, and then Premium is all of that stuff. Plus, you can stream any of the new games, kind of like Xbox Game Pass. You can just stream the stuff, and the highest tier also gets you a retro catalog of PS1 and PS2 games, I think, something like that. So technically, PS Plus Extra is where the big library of games kind of starts to rotate in and out like Game Pass, basically.
Okay.
And I, for some reason, I've got this set for March, but I don't know. Maybe it's like they do it later in the month. But we actually did talk about some of this stuff. So Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, Immortals: Phoenix Rising. That's the Ubisoft Greek mythology thing.
Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo, which is going to be coming out. All this stuff I think is going to be coming out this week on PS Plus Extra. Life is Strange 2, True Colors, Street Fighter 5 Championship Edition, Final Fantasy Type 0 HD. That's the sort of card-based school kids battle academy Final Fantasy.
Right.
Untitled Goose Game, Rage 2, Haven, The World Ends With You Neo, which is the sequel to the original World Ends With You, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, for those of you
Okay.
episodic anime
Kakarot.
fans. Yeah. Also on Game Pass for the month of April, I think it'll be Ghostwire Tokyo also, and this is the game from I'm trying to think of the name of the studio, but they actually did that Rush. Oh, dude, I'm blanking on the name of it. The whatever it is, the Music Rush game. Anyway, Ghostwire Tokyo is coming out for the first time as a day one release on Hi-Fi Rush is what it was. And I can't think of the studio name, but it was Shinji Mikami's studio. Ghostwire Tokyo coming out on April 12th. Everspace 2 coming out on April 6th. These are all day one releases, by the way. Minecraft Legends coming out on April 18th. Coffee Talk Episode 2. The Last Case of Benedict Fox. Coffee Talk. Homestead Arcana. And then something called Venbo, which is an indie narrative cooking game from Canada, from the Canadian indie scene. All coming out on Xbox Game Pass. Lastly, the GOG Spring Sale is now on for those of you looking for some good old games for cheap. And they are currently offering a free giveaway of a game called Lorelei. That is not the Styx song, but probably all right. I think it's the third of a trilogy of little indie horror games. It's
spelled the same.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, actually it is. Yeah. So you can play Lorelei while you listen to Lorelei. And Dale, I think that is going to do it for all of the new releases and deals and freebies and stuff this
All right.
week.
Well, under our news and topics, we have a thing here about the Nintendo eShop for 3DS and pour one out.
That's right. You still have a week. It's going to be this week, so like the 28th. So I guess that'll be what, like Tuesday of next week, something like that.
Yeah.
Something.
And so you have a discussion prompt here. You want to?
Yeah. So some of these games, just like when the Wii shut down and the 3DS, I mean, this stereo 3D, some of these games are not really going to be available in the same way. A lot of Sega Genesis 3D classics and stuff like that they did. So kind of what I wanted to prompt was if there were a game, and I guess it's just me and you, so whatever, we can riff on it if we want to, but what game you might save by purchasing at the last minute, snatching from the jaws of oblivion before it becomes unavailable forever on Nintendo platforms.
See. So we're talking about ones that are exclusively available via.
Yeah, I mean, just something that you'd like to have.
Yeah, so
I've got one right offhand, and I kind of was putzing around with this in the Discord, but there was a game a year or two ago, maybe it was probably longer than that. I'm living in a time warp right now. Something for me felt like 2 years ago. It's like 10 years ago. But like some dude made a game based on someone who is a neighbor of his, Alice Cooper, the rock musician, Alice Cooper. Mm-hmm. And I guess I can't remember the story for this. You can probably find it online. But he decided he was going to make a game about scooping birds because the character Alice Cooper scoops these birds. And I guess the guy just asked, hey, would you lend your likeness to this little $8 3DS game? And Alice Cooper was like, sure. So you can actually get a game called Scoopin' Birds starring Alice Cooper on the 3DS. And as far as I know, it's the only version of the game to exist. Yeah, exactly right. So I feel like just for posterity, just to be able to show, somebody comes over to my house and I'm like, hey, you want to see a game starring Alice Cooper where you get to scoop little birds out of a bin and give them to customers? And they'll be like, please tell me more. So that's one that I would save. I'd buy that for $8.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of any game that I played on either of those platforms. So it was, let's see, for the not the Wii, because that one's already been gone, right? So it's just the
Yeah.
Wii U.
Yeah, the
So
Wii
I never
U
had a
also.
Wii,
That's another one.
so the Wii U that means nothing to me. 3DS. Now, what did I play on 3DS? God, what was the SteamWorld Dig?
Yeah.
SteamWorld Dig.
Actually, since
It's
you
on there,
mentioned that,
right?
I'll just mention for those of you who are listening to this show live or who are listening to it before the eShop closes down, SteamWorld Dig, SteamWorld Dig 2, and SteamWorld Heist currently on steep discounts. And I've actually been thinking about going to get those
Yeah.
off
So
the
at least
eShop.
the first SteamWorld Dig was good. I'm now trying to think of like what other games did I buy off of that store, and that's kind of like the only one I can really think of.
Yeah, yeah.
There must have been something else though.
I mean, there were
Like
some things
so,
that used a lot of 3D, like Pushmo and Pulmo. I think those, a lot of guys swear by those. Like, they really like those games. I have
Crash
not.
Mo.
Crashmo, yeah,
Yeah.
all of that stuff. I have not played a bunch of those, but they seem to be something that would be pretty unique to the
Ah,
3DS.
Crimson Shroud. Yes, I
Oh,
played that.
dude, for what's his
Yeah,
name?
yeah.
Yasumi
Yasuni
Matsuno.
Matsuno. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That was interesting because it was.
like a little
It
experimental thing.
certainly had all of those kind of like goth European, setting sort of influences, but then it was also kind of like a weird like a miniatures game almost, kind of
Yeah.
like it had these like pawn, chess piece sort of things that you moved around. And I don't remember much about it other than I definitely played it a bunch. I don't know if I finished it or what.
I
Man, it's
I
been a
didn't
while.
I didn't actually pick it up. I'm a big Yasumi Matsuno fan, but I guess it didn't really appeal to me in terms of like, oh wow, this is an experience you must
I
have.
should I should charge my 3DS and look and like just see how far I got into that. Huh.
The other thing I want to mention is that Capcom also is putting a lot of stuff on sale too. So the other thing here is that I know Legrand has been talking about playing a lot of 3DS games by going out and finding the cartridges or probably emulating them or whatever. But
Yeah.
for stuff that would be difficult or at a higher price, to find out in a physical cartridge, Capcom has a bunch of stuff for like $3. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, $3. That is
Yeah, you can't beat that.
unparalleled value. A bunch of
Yeah.
Phoenix Wright games, Dual Destinies, Spirit of Justice. I believe there's also a Phoenix Wright trilogy that's $3 there on the eShop. Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, which is regularly 30 and includes Shovel Knight, Plague Knight, um, uh, King Knight,
King Knight,
and
yeah.
Spectre Knight. I think there's like four different games in
Yeah.
there
Hmm.
for $4.50. And if you have
That's
not played
crazy.
Shovel Knight, this is a decent way to do it. I was trying to.
Shantae, I mean that's a decent
Yeah,
series
they
too.
are
The
actually for
Way
platformers.
Forward.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Regrettably, though, there are not a lot of companies that are discounting stuff. Apparently, Sega and Atlas, I guess, had done something when they first announced that this was going to be going
Hmm.
down. But I would say discussion prompt maybe for listeners and for friends of the show. Feel free to share in the Discord server if there's something that you particularly liked, and it doesn't even have to be like at a great steal bargain. But the fact is, this stuff is going away. You won't be able to get it again. I did share on the Discord some dude who went through the process of buying every single game on the eShop for 3DS and Wii U. It's a pretty funny. Just looking at all of the roadblocks that Nintendo puts into actually buying things from them. But the guy does it. He actually goes through and buys every single thing on both platforms under the auspices of preservation, which I don't know if that's actually a viable way to do it, but anyhow, so just be aware, kind of for those of you out there who are interested in that platform. Special, PSA for Legrand, who's been on a 3DS kick for a couple months. Now's the last call. Now is your chance. Get him now or lose him forever, as Meg Ryan said in Top Gun. Goose, you
Jeez.
big stud. Yeah,
It's Meg Ryan. It's been so long since I've
yeah.
seen
She's
Top
Goose's.
Gun.
She's Goose's wife.
I didn't even know who Meg Ryan was. Probably the last
No, I
Top Gun.
didn't either. That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
um, seems that Microsoft may be planning to launch a game storefront. Which okay,
This is kind of interesting to me because, and I actually forgot to put this in the news, but the other thing, I'll see if I can find it really quickly. But Netflix also
Yes.
has something like 70 games in development for their storefront also.
Right.
And we were talking, Legrand and I, a couple weeks ago about kind of the seeming dearth or paucity of. I got my thesaurus out today.
Hmm.
Paucity of video games on there. Allegedly they've been making big moves into video games. They've been buying studios, and it's been interesting to me because I've been thinking about this recently. 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, the big disruptor in video games was mobile, right? Like,
Right.
on the One Up Yours podcast or whatever, John Davison was always like, oh,
Yeah.
some new mobile game.
Mobile. It's going to be mobile.
It was going to be mobile, and here's the thing. I think we live in a reality where Schrodinger's cat is that it both has not made an impact and has made a gigantic impact
Yeah.
on, and I don't know exactly how to articulate that, but it is interesting to me that Xbox is even considering this. I mean, I
I
guess
think it's
it's.
a situation. Do you know the expression of growing the pie?
Oh yeah,
Like
or the
the
blue
idea that
ocean strategy.
yeah, exactly. Rather than it coming in and like killing console gaming, it's more like it just opened up a whole other section of gamers out there that are never going to play on a console, never going to play
Right,
on a PC. There's people that only have phones, maybe, or they only ever play games on their coffee break at work or
right,
whatever.
right, right,
And
right.
so that's what they do is they play mobile games like um what's that stupid Clash Royale? I mean,
Oh yeah.
like there's games that are huge, insane mega hits
Oh
that
yeah,
are
Candy
only
Crush. I mean,
yeah, I mean, yeah,
for
exactly.
for Microsoft in particular, there is some immediate relevance to business doings because they've been in this process of trying to acquire Activision, which
Hmm.
has King. Is it King
Yeah, they own
Mobile?
King Digital,
King
right?
Digital, whatever it is, and they've got Candy Crush over there, and they do have, I don't know who owns Clash Royale, but that's a. Anyway, so
Super Cell, whatever they're called.
yeah, 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 yeah. So presumably there's some crossover there, and Microsoft kind of is alleging that part of this is critical. So this is from a discussion from Phil Spencer talking to Financial Times. That they're planning on launching an Xbox branded app store on both Android and iOS, ideally as soon as next year. So they're just looking at this and they're saying, well, this is something that is not a strength of Xbox currently, but we're trying to get into it with Candy Crush and Call of Duty Mobile and Diablo Immortal and some of the holdings that Activision Blizzard has. And I don't know, right now that whole thing. I guess this is a little bit of a side topic, but it seems like there's always a he said she said going on week to week. Like, oh, is this, we're so put upon, like, oh no, there's no way that we could be a monopoly because look at all these things that Sony is doing. And oh, we really just want to break into this market. We don't have any presence there at all, and this is a way for us to. It's hard to tell, like whether
Mhm.
this is actually counting for them or against them in terms of whether they're going to be a monopoly or whatever. They're expanding their monopolistic tentacles out into mobile platforms as well. But it is just interesting, and I guess that's why it's newsworthy for the podcast tonight that that Xbox is looking to expand into that space. And then again, Netflix has something like 70 games in development across their efforts as well. So
Interesting.
mobile is back, I guess, baby.
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, PS5 other in the PlayStation section for news. We got Microsoft doing their thing. We got PlayStation doing their thing.
Oh yeah.
PS5 firmware is going to let you update your controller wirelessly.
Yeah, I decided that
And
I would lead with that because that to me is the most relevant thing. Like when I turn that thing on, it's always like, "Oh, we've got an update for your controller," and I'm like, "Skip, skip, skip." Ever since I've had
uh,
the thing, I'm like, "No." So the firmware update actually does a lot of stuff. I think the biggest one that was actually the big news headline, and I think Legrand was into this. Discord now, voice chat will directly cross over to PlayStation 5, and by extension, then also Xbox. So we're getting a sort of unified voice chat cinematic universe going on here. So I
wow,
think,
Discord,
yeah, to me,
a
I don't
great
know.
unifier.
Yeah, maybe I guess I don't. I've never really had a situation where I felt compelled to, be playing a game and cross talking to. But I guess if you're playing something that's cross platform, I guess you don't really have many choices.
Yeah.
And it has been cool in the past when it's done. Do you remember when Portal 2 came out? And I don't know why I'm calling back so much to stuff
Mhm.
from like 15 years ago, but Portal 2 for a hot 6 months or whatever, Steam was integrated, or rather,
Yes.
PlayStation Network
PS3.
was integrated into Steam,
Yeah.
and you could actually voice chat across those systems.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's back now, and
That's cool.
that's the big one. You can also use voice commands to capture gameplay, variable refresh rate on 1440p monitors. Save data in the cloud will send you notifications now. You can join games directly from party chat, watch a friend playing their game directly from their profile, and also some folder filtering. So this is, I guess, a big. I remember, it used to be that firmware updates were like, really cool and whatever. Now these features are plenty cool. I don't know if I'm super excited about them or not, but it's a thing. So
Cool.
that's
Well,
it. Dale, that is going to do it for all of our big boy news, but we are going to wrap this thing up with a news speed run. Start some of that music for me.
let's do it.
Nice. We're going to open with a downer. This one's kind of sad. Actor and voice actor Lance Reddick.
Yeah, he passed away. I mean, it
Yeah.
sucks. It's like he was a great actor. He's in a lot of stuff. I mostly Bosch, the the Amazon original TV
I
series.
never watched that one. I saw
It's
a
all
little bit
right.
of The Wire.
Yeah. He was. I think the first place I saw
Yeah.
was in The Wire, and then he was Zavala in the Destiny
Zavala.
series.
Guardian, it's time to
Um,
do some missions or something.
what else was he in? He was in like another thing that as well. And he's always a great guy to see on screen. He's had a real, like presence,
Yeah, he did.
great
I
voice.
I
Yeah.
understand. I saw this, I think, on Kotaku. Apparently, and I don't know how they know this, but apparently he was playing Destiny 2 the night before he passed. So
Yeah.
he was also not just the talent, also a gamer,
What,
and
what was it? It's like a sudden heart attack or like what? Like,
I just natural
do we know?
causes. Yeah, they
Uh,
didn't. It wasn't anything untoward, but I guess just
Only 60, man.
yeah, young
That's
age, fairly young. And of course, fans have been kind of flocking to, pay some tribute and to honor and respect him. There was a kind of a vigil going on over the weekend at the place where Zavala, who's an underused character, like he's not doing much these days other than hanging out on that one little, strut coming out from the
Mhm.
last city. But people were there, kind of sitting down and emoting some sort of like glowing kind of emote,
Yeah.
and just kind of having a little vigil there. And I saw that a fan also had created a 3D printed, what do you call it? Like an obelisk, or like almost like a statue or tomb, kind of a mausoleum front piece or something like that,
Mhm.
which is a tribute to Lance Reddick in the form of Commander Zavala. He's making it free, available for all people, with a suggested donation to Mom Cares, which is the Reddick family's charity of choice to help underprivileged moms in their maternity endeavors. So yeah, doing a little bit of good on the way out there, and yeah, kind of a shame overall. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, keeping on the bummer track, apparently Twitch is laying off 400 employees as part of some broader Amazon, um,
yeah,
layoffs.
layoffs in the tech sector, kind of all. I mean, Facebook is laying off like 10,000 people, something like that. Technology
Yeah.
banks are failing right now. I guess we might as well mark this in the historic, Game Bytes show. So we can come back and see where we were when it was happening. I'm always impressed that there are 400 people employed at Twitch. Like I don't know what it takes to run the thing, but I'm like, wow, 400 people, and you can just like cut. So how many people are actually working there, and what are they doing? Just like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, well, the if you have 400 people that you can cut, how many people do you have remaining?
yeah.
And like, what were the people that were cut? Like, what was their job?
You know what I feel like they should be doing? They should be finding people who are streaming to 0 people and just go like watch their streams. Because it's usually
Maybe,
me. Like
maybe that was their
I'm
job.
lonely streaming to 0 people. But yeah, so bummer for those guys, and hopefully the tech sector at large will bounce back just a little bit.
Yeah.
Epic Games, we've talked about this before. The untoward or maybe slightly shady practices of
Dark patterns.
yeah, hashtag dark patterns here. So Epic Games has been ordered to refund $245 million to players by paying a fine to the FTC for players who had paid for unwanted charges. And I noticed that as part of that, when they would sort of dispute those charges, Epic was locking their accounts. So I guess they're
Right.
probably pretty easy to identify, I suppose.
Yeah, total, dick thing to do that a lot of companies do. Basically, the equivalent of that is like, well, you're going to dispute a charge. Well, fine then. We're
Yeah,
banning you
that's
forever.
it. We're
Yeah.
done. Dead to us.
Respawn, the makers of Titanfall and Apex Legends, and that Jedi game also.
Oh yeah, Jedi
Opening a
Survivor.
third studio in Wisconsin, and apparently they're aiming to have Apex Legends be a 10 to 15-year game. Which, how many years has it been?
I was
already?
just trying to think
4?
that, like, how long
5?
it's been going. It feels like it's got to be longer than that. I bet it's 7 or 8 years. Which then begs that then prompts you to ask the question: how long has it been since we had a good Titanfall game? I mean, Titanfall 2 must have
And
been
it was before Apex.
yeah, it must have been 10 years ago.
And Titanfall 2 was so good.
Titanfall 2 was really good.
Anyway.
Speaking of things that are pretty old, about 10 years, and really good, The Last of Us has just completed the television HBO series Season 1. Dale, I don't know if you were watching that or have any...
I have not been watching that.
Any interest in it?
So fed up with Last of Us.
Really?
The whole IP just needs to go
ever
away.
since that, when it was winning games of the year for like 3 years running at GDC and stuff.
Yeah. I just get it out. Just go. Forever.
Well, hey, I've got some bad news for you, my friend. Season 2 may be expected in 2024 to 2025, according to Bella Ramsey.
That's not long enough from now.
Yeah, well. Also, as part of this, we've had a few little commentaries from the developers. I know they get old... what's his name? Neil, what's that dude's name now?
Druckmann.
Yeah, Neil Druckmann. Kind of talking a little bit at the ends of episodes, kind of talking about, well, here's what we changed and why. By the way, I'm just going to get this out.
That is kind of interesting because he's a guy who is very central to both productions.
Absolutely.
And to see like the thought process of somebody adapting their own thing into another form, that's just kind of an interesting thing.
It is interesting, but I tell you what, here's where I'm going to sort of plant my flag on this. I think I've said it before, maybe somewhere, maybe on the show. It is interesting to hear what he thinks needs to be improved. I will say that from my standpoint, most of the not all, because they did some good and valuable things. They actually showed some, I guess what I'll say is previously unseen prequel kind of material that was not in any Naughty Dog game, which I thought was really interesting. And there were some other things, but generally speaking, my position on it is the things that they changed were not improvements. I would say they're...
Do you think that maybe they're like concessions to, because it's like this thing is necessary in this medium?
See, that kind of, I guess I would say that I think that the HBO TV series is definitely more accessible than the game. So from that standpoint, you have to do some of that stuff. And I think from that standpoint, it is successful. But even just from a narrative standpoint, some of the additions that they made of characters who weren't in the game. And I tell you, I'm a person who believes in a good adaptation. Like, I don't believe that you've got to like one-to-one carry it over. But I think that if you're going to make changes, I think that there should be some clear improvements or things that were, maybe criticisms of the original work, or things that were the stuff that really needed to be fixed. And I think that
was it something that you wanted to do in the original but couldn't for some reason?
Yeah, but then you also kind of one of the things about making art is, and we've talked about this on this show before, sometimes it's the restrictions, that make that beget good art. And so what I think happened with some of these things is they were like, oh, I kind of want this to be better for television storytelling purposes. But then I think it ended up undermining some of the original material that was already there, which I think was just a trade-off that you can decide to make that. And I'm not telling anyone that they can't do that. I mean, it's your stuff to fiddle with. But I think that then it just opens you up to the critique that you've made a lateral move that did not improve or maybe even took a step backward from the storytelling that you achieved in the medium that it was originally in.
Well, I want to take that lead off right there, head into Capcom Japan releases a chibi anime to promote Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. It's actually really cute though. I gotta say, like it's just a little, 30-second thing. We were talking before the show about Agretzko and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
it's a really cute, self-aware little thing. And it says episode 1, so right now there's one where Leon goes to the village of the Plagas or
What
whatever.
do you think the restrictions of the chibi anime format do
Oh
to
man, I
Resident Evil 4?
I don't know. It is just sort of one of those. I will admit though that they're I'm trying to think when this started, where companies were sort of willing to allow, because it used to be everything was like very serious, especially Japanese companies, right? Like
Oh yeah,
we're not going
yeah.
to let you mess with this. This is this our honor is at stake here.
Mhm.
But now I think they've gotten to a point where they're like, oh, this can be fun, and so I
Yes.
admire this one. This one I think is worth watching, and if they release more of these, it's not a big commitment. They're not being serious about it, but it's pretty cute. And this of course is in tandem with the upcoming Resident Evil
The
4
RE4
remake.
remake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So speaking of Japanese companies and producers messing around with stuff, Yu Suzuki, formerly of Sega, has decided that he's going to double down on something that gamers don't really care about by releasing NFTs for Virtua Fighter. And I'll let you decide which of those things gamers actually don't care about.
Yeah, what do we care about less?
Yeah, yeah, Virtua Fighter.
Well, apparently Tim Stamper, he of Rare,
One of the
has
Stamper brothers, Tim. Was
has
it?
promised that he would. I don't know how this. How did you back yourself into this corner? He said that he would lick a 25-year-old chocolate BAFTA award. So you know the mask that the BAFTA awards. It's like the
Oh yeah, kind of the
dramatic.
Greek.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking.
It's not the comedy tragedy ones. It's like it's like the Greek face with the Caesar haircut or whatever.
Right, right.
And first of all, how do you even make one of those in chocolate?
I
And
don't know.
then how does it stick around for 25 years?
I don't know.
And then, I mean, would it really be that bad to 25-year-old chocolate?
I
I
mean, if
don't
you
think
look
it.
at the thing, it doesn't look appetizing. I don't know that I.
Yeah,
You
but I
don't know
mean,
what's growing
you could
on
go and
there.
like you could go and lick like a tree,
Yeah,
and it's you're not gonna die.
I suppose that's true.
Anyway, so anyway, apparently he made a pledge that he would lick this thing. If Banjo Kazooie was to win a BAFTA poll,
Yeah, like a public poll about your favorite and
and
whatever.
and of course, internet polls, bastions of integrity.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so it won, and now he should
he should lick
lick
it.
it.
He should.
Yeah.
Official
I mean, why not?
exhortation
Really?
from the
Right?
Game Bytes Show podcast. Tim Stamper, friend of the show, listening right now to the Game Bytes Show
Mhm.
podcast. You better lick that thing.
After all, it is made to be licked
It
and
is
chewed,
absolutely. In fact,
digested,
I think there should at least be like a nib, like some actual solid matter needs
a
to.
bite mark.
But I want to see some teeth
Yeah,
in the BAFTA chocolate.
yeah.
That's what we demand. The people demand it, Tim Stamper, or your honor is forfeit. And
How does
speaking
that thing
of,
not melt after 25 years?
I don't know, somebody's
Like,
been
where do you keep
preserving
that?
it. I don't know. I tell
Like
you
in the
what
freezer?
though. Hey,
In wedding cake?
I've got a top. Here's a quick little. I know this is the speed run, so the speedy music is still going, but. We've talked before about memorabilia that we have, just like our
Mhm.
weird things sitting around. I think my only edible question mark, one that I've got one, is a pack of Topps David Lynch Dune the movie, a
Oh
pack of
wow,
trading cards sealed
with gum.
with gum.
Yeah,
With gum.
just like the baseball cards used to have. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And I've sometimes thought like I should open that
that
thing.
Topps gum was not good, even
No,
in 1989.
even when it was fresh.
No, that was
Yeah,
not good.
no, it was not. So I've got that's I think that's I'm gonna challenge my co-hosts. If anybody can outdo me there on your oldest edible food stuff memorabilia, that's my
Oh
entry.
man.
Pack of Dune cards.
Mm,
Speaking of
mm.
other abominations, we're gonna wrap it up here. The Sims 4 lately free to play according to EA. They've been supporting it with some content. There's a babies update, Dale, that came out, and we opened the show pre-show banter with some like
Everybody
weird.
loves babies.
Everybody loves babies, but we do not love horror babies. I'm afraid, and there is a cursed glitch in this Sims 4 babies update in which the babies have become long babies, and their legs grow
Long
faster than the
baby.
rest of them.
So you mentioned Alice Cooper earlier. He has that song.
Long baby,
It's called Dead Babies.
dead babies.
Um, and it's a parable about like the dangers of leaving your prescription medicine unattended near a
Oh
baby.
no, it's
Um,
they should have put that for the soundtrack to Dad. What's the Daddy the game where you have to play as the baby and try and kill yourself?
oh yeah, I
Daddy
don't know what
versus
that's
Baby
called.
or something like that.
Something,
Daddy
yeah,
Daddy Daycare. Or Primus had. I guess this is not the same. Didn't Primus have a song? Dead puppies aren't much fun. Something like that.
probably that sounds about right.
Something. Guys, on that savory note, we're going to call an end to our speed run. We're going to call an end to this episode of the Game Bytes Show podcast. I want to thank you for making it with us all the way to the end of this thing. Dale Jones, Count Number, I want to thank you for
Yes,
being here on this episode for the Ides of March, 20th of March,
my
2020.
pleasure.
And of course, pouring one out for our absent co-host Legrand Jolly, and Jared Red Eye Dunn, who couldn't make it. We're going to look at changing maybe the day that we do this, just to try and make it a little bit
Try to
easier.
get more
So
availability.
yeah, exactly. Try and make sure that we're at the full strength because, of course, there's a lot of news, a lot of games out there. We want to make sure, of course, that our podcast audience is well served. If you are interested in finding more of us, of course, you can find us over at youtube.com/GameByteShow, where you can see us do this thing live. You can find us at GameByteShow.com, our new home over at Podbean, where we've got a little Podbean website. You can find there a standing open invitation link to our Discord server where you can come and hang out with us on a daily basis. As I mentioned, we will let you know about freebies, things that we find out there on the internet, dank memes, and of course, travel logs when Dale
Yeah, hey, tune
cleans up.
in. But Wednesday the 22nd at I guess it'd be 10 p.m. Central Time.
Oh, wow.
There's going to be the Games Workshop like preview event at Adepticon, and I'll try to wave at a camera. If I can
Yeah, that's why I
find
want to see Dale jump up there and be like, woo!
Yeah. Game Bytes.
Yeah, Game Bytes Show. Yeah. All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna be famous finally after all these years. But of course, fame and fortune is not what we seek. We just want to talk about some video games. We want to share it with our community. We want to share it with you. So if there's anything that you've been playing that you want to share with us, if there's any news that we missed, anything like that, come join us on Discord and hang out with us there, and we'll have a good old time. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of your Game Bytes Show podcast. Find us in all of those places. We'll do this again next week. But until then, this has been your show, and we will see you next time.
We'll be seeing you.